Alright, so we're going to look at locked doors. And just to show you, I'm starting with a really basic setup, okay? All I really have is the player start and the door in a room. And all I did for this door was just, make the brushwork angled, and then I made, create brush entity func door. And the only setting I changed was the angle to -1, and that caused the arrow to go up, right? And so if I did -2, the door would go down, but I want it to go up. Okay, so it's very basic, and just to kind of refresh what that looks like, the door is essentially automatic, right? If I walk up to it, it just opens on its own. Okay, that's normal standard door. Now the first thing I want to show you is just actually how to fix this. If you see this kind of bright spot at the bottom of a door, fix it is actually quite easy. We're just going to go to the door, shadow, where it says shadow, and just put 1. And that just enables shadows, because by default, if you have a moving object like a door, it's going to remove shadows on it. And sometimes you want that. But in the case of a door, we want it to be shadowed on the bottom. So that fixed that. Of course, we still want to lock the door. So how are we going to do that? Well, the first thing we need to do is actually give the door a target name, because we need to control this door. We're effectively saying the player can't automatically open this door. We need a key. So I'm going to give it a target name. I'm just going to call it door. Now, you'll see that just by doing that, just by essentially giving it that target name and saying that, the player can no longer automatically control it, you'll see that it no longer works like a regular door. Okay, nothing happens. So that's the first step. So let's put a key in the map. All right, point entity, key. Let's just go with the red key. All right, so we've got the key. Now, a very important entity, basically the critical entity here to make this all work, is called a trigger key. So I'm going to go to point entity, trigger key, okay? And this is the entity that takes the key away from the player and opens the door. All right, and so you'll see here that in the item field of that entity, it actually defaults to the blue key. I'm just going to go in here and change this to the item name of the red key, red key. Now this could be anything, any item that the player holds, right? So you could even, for example, if you wanted the rocket launcher instead for some reason to open the door, I could just take that, copy the name and an item, put it there, and now it's instead of a key, it's going to want a rocket launcher to open the door. So you can do some kind of cool stuff, but we'll just keep it to the key for now. All right, so that's got the item of the key name. We're going to need to tell this that, hey, this is the door that we want to have opened, right? So I'm going to go into the target, and I'm just going to target the door. So now we've got the trigger key. It's targeting the door. But we also need to give the key a target name. And the reason for that is because, the game doesn't know that we want the key to be used when the player touches the door, right? Sometimes it could be used somewhere else. So in order to tell essentially the game when we want that key to be taken away, we've got to put a trigger there, and so we've got to give this a target name. I'll just call it key. Okay. So now that it has a target name of key, I'm going to make a trigger in front of the door, and that way this all activates when the player goes up to the door, because that's basically what we want, right? So I just made a simple brush here. Just going to pop it in, just have it completely covering the door. I'll just change it to a trigger texture. Okay, and then I'm going to right click, brush entity, trigger, multiple. And then I'm going to go to the entity settings for it. And then I'm going to target the key entity that we have. So let's kind of recap what's going on here, okay? We've got a trigger in front of the door. That trigger is triggering the key. Okay, so when the player walks up to this, it's going to go, oh, hey, let's ask this. And this is going to say, hey, I want the red key to target the thing that I'm targeting to fire. So if the player has the key, if he's picked it up, he goes here in theory, right? This says, okay, I'm requesting, I'm targeting you. This guy says, okay, I need the red key. Oh, good, the player has it. I'm taking it. And now because I've taken that, I'm going to fire my target, which is the door, which is behind that trigger there, okay? So let's just see how that works. I'm going to save that, compile it. Now let's walk up to the door without the key. Okay, so what happened is I walked up, it went to the trigger key, and the trigger key says, hey, you don't have the key yet, so I'm going to, give you this message. All right. I'm going to pick up this key. I got the key now. I'm going to walk over to the door. There we go. It opened the door. Basically, that's it. Now, you'll notice something here. The door closed again. And now, because I've used the key, I'm stuck, right? So we're just going to do one really quick fix for that. I'm just going to click on the door. Now, this is blocking the door. And one thing you can do just to go behind that is I'm going to go Control, Alt, and I. And that just hides that temporarily, okay? So now I'm going to click on the door, and I'm just going to go to Spawn Flags, and I'm going to go to Select Toggle. And what that means is that the door isn't going to close again. It's going to stay open after that. So in order to get our trigger back now that we've touched that, I'm going to go Control-Shift-I, okay? And that's going to bring back any objects that are hidden. So I could select a bunch of objects, Control-Alt-I to make them disappear, just to work on stuff, and then Control-Shift-I to show them again. Now, you can do one more thing, which is you can solo an object. So let's say I want to only work on that. If I go Control-I, now I've isolated that, okay? And then again, Control-Shift-I to bring back anything that got hidden. So we changed the toggle. Okay, so now I pick up the key, go to the door, it opens, and now it stays open. Boom, unlock door, done. Now the other thing you want to look at is how to open, so when the player takes the key, how to kind of have monsters come out of a door, right? So it's actually an easier setup than a locked door. So I'm just going to make really quickly, kind of like, let's say a hidden room back here. This is going to be really quick and dirty. But just to give you an idea. So let me bring this to the ceiling here, and I'll just chop, the bottom half of this off, and I'm just going to turn this into a door. This is just really quick and dirty. Let's have this kind of just move up, I guess. Sorry, go to angle, -2. Is that right? Sorry, it's pointing down, -1. Should have learned from earlier. Okay, that's, whoops. -1. Okay, pointing up. I'm just going to indent this just a little bit there, okay, just so it looks a bit cleaner. So there's my big door. I'm going to put some monsters behind it. Okay. Let's just put, a couple of these guys here. Okay, so they're hiding behind the door there. Now, this door, just like we had before, we're going to give, we want to control it, right? So I'm going to give it a target name of, door 2. And now what happens is this key here, we're going to have this key target that door. So in the target name of that key, we're going to put door 2. And so all that means is that now when the player comes and picks that up, it's going to open that door. Now we learned from before that if we, have it open, it closes again after, right? So if you want to stay open, then we're just going to put that toggle spawn flag. So now it's going to open and just stay open. So that's pretty much it. So let's just compile that. So now you see, okay, there's the door closed. This is still asking for the key. Now when I pick this up, boom, that door opened. Those guys came out. I know it's a little dark over there, right? But so that's pretty much it. Now, one more thing I just want to show you is you could actually hear those guys, right? And if you started shooting, they would probably get triggered. And so what I actually think is a better way to do is to make it so that these also spawn in. So that way they're not there ahead of time. Now, maybe you want them to be there ahead of time. Sometimes it's cool to hear monsters, but let's just say for some reason, you want it to be really secret, right? For the player not to realize they're going to be there. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to select both of these monsters. And in the spawn flags, I'm going to select trigger spawn. Okay, so that means they're actually not going to spawn until we trigger them. Now, we already have the key trigger the door. So there's a few ways we can do this, but I'm going to show you the lazy way. Because this key is already targeting door 2, I'm just going to give these monsters a target name of door 2. And I've selected both of them. So now they have the same. So this key, once you pick it up, is going to trigger 3 things to happen at once. Both these monsters are going to spawn in, and this door is going to come up. So let me just show you what that looks like. Okay, so now they're not there, right? I can jump around, um, and they're not there. But then as soon as I pick up the key, they spawn in, the door comes up, and they're right there. So that's it. Hopefully that helps.